Hey folks, welcome back to the podcast. I'm joined today by my buddy Billy Evans, who is a all-around rad human being. He's got like the energy of a golden retriever, and he talks me up so much every time that I talk to him. It just makes me feel great about myself. So that's the real reason that I had him back on the podcast. Beyond that, Billy is somebody who went through our 6 month online program, and he's actually sticking around to continue working with us a little bit further beyond that because he sees the value in having the community, the accountability, and a little bit of extra guidance in his life. Not that I'm someone who magically has all the answers, but it's interesting because Billy is actually in a position where he is a mentor to a ton of other people on their recovery path. And he sees the value in having mentors himself as well. So that's why he's sticking around inside of our program, which is awesome. So he actually got clean from his drug addiction a few times, as you'll hear about in this podcast. But the most recent time was with the help of a plant medicine retreat out in, I believe it was Oregon that he went to initially. And then he wound up enrolling in our program right after to help out with the integration phase, like we always talk about. Went through our program, continued making a lot of changes, continued working on himself. And as you will also hear him describe in this episode, he's repeated this multiple times to us that he feels like he's doing the best he has ever done in his adult life right now. And again, I don't take all the credit for that. It's a testament to the work that he has done and the work that the plant medicine helped him to do. So you're going to hear all about that and more in this episode. If you haven't already, go back and listen to part one with him, where we basically cover childhood up until this retreat. And then this episode is from that retreat to the present day. So without further ado, thank you very much for being here. Enjoy this episode with my friend Billy. I'll catch you later. Mr. Billy, we're here. I was fucking kicking myself. I meant to listen to our part one this morning when I was working out, so it could all be fresh in my brain, and then I completely fucking forgot. And then I was like, oh, that's fine. I'll do it when I make breakfast. And then I completely fucking forgot. So I was trying to like quickly go through it to remember all the shit that I asked you last time. So I think I've refreshed myself sufficiently. So hopefully we don't just like repeat ourselves too much. But last time, basically, my whole goal was we talked about all of the horrible things that happened to you and all the shit that you'd gone through in your life. It kind of brought us like right up to the precipice of when everything started to get better, and then we left everyone on a big old cliffhanger. So we're gonna pick up that story today and talk about actually getting better and everything that went into that. So I'm not going to ask you to rehash all of that stuff. People can just go back and listen to our first episode together if they want. If they want the full backstory. And actually, they probably should before they continue. So stop right now if you're listening to this and you haven't listened to Billy's episode, part one. I know that I just asked you before we hit record if there's anything else that you wanted to talk about or touch on. You said, not really. So I'm just going to fire away with some questions at you. All right, Billy?
Bring it on, Bubba.
All right. So we talked in circles a lot about, or like we beat around the bush a lot about like your recovery process last time, but we didn't actually talk about like really what happened there. So how did that start? Like why are you not still addicted to drugs right now, Billy? Like what happened?
I found Jesus Christ, brother. I'm kidding.
I don't believe that.
Dude, good question, bro. So yeah. I fuck. Right? So I grew up with drugs in my family, so I hated them. I really did. And then I went through my own struggles with, PTSD from Iraq and then divorce and drugs and all that shit, and I ended up, drugs were a good way to self-soothe, I guess, and escape reality and all that bullshit, or just like turn the noise off of down on life, but dude, I had went through every VA fucking like program that they had, like combat PTSD ones in a few different states. I went to the Meadows, it's like a trauma specialty place in Arizona. I went through the Salvation Army. I went through the $1 million rehabs in Orange County, where they cook your food and you get acupuncture and all that stuff. Man, I went through all of them. And so that's a good question, man. Like, what changed? I was really good at like getting like an A in rehab, right? Like I'd go there, I'd show up, I'd talk about my feelings, I'd meet people, I'd be nice, I'd be vulnerable, I'd do all that stuff. I'd talk about what I thought was the problem, and then and I love therapy. I'm a big advocate for it, huge advocate for it. I think everybody on the planet should have a therapist, but I you know, after my, years, probably the better part of a decade in recovery and everything, I realized that sometimes therapy can almost like be a disservice, at least in my own story. I thought like, hey, I'm going to take care of myself. So how do you take care of yourself? Like, if you have shit going on, well, you talk about it, and I don't know, man. Fucking dude, I talked about the same shit for a decade, bro. And I know we're supposed to take care of our bodies, connect with people, get community, heal from the past, but some of that shit, man, I think I fell into like the category of a lot of people, like Western medicine, the traditional methods only get you so far, and I had the childhood shit, I had the combat shit, I had the marital stuff, I had the drug addiction stuff, severe drug addiction, and you can throw out other terms like, moral injury or adjustment disorder or whatever the fuck. But, I don't think it like matters too much what the fucking label is. I think deep down inside, man, there was a disconnect between my heart and my mind, the way that I saw myself and the world around me, and, and, dude, man, I remember, dude, I was, yeah, fuck, like when I look back on it, it's kind of like brutal, man. I was a fucking youngster and like my very best way to manage and cope with life was to check out, and that came with its own enormous amount of shame, and, here I was like a combat veteran, I served my country, I had a wife, I had all this shit. And then it's like, couldn't keep a fucking, like, I don't know, not to be too like graphic or whatever. So I'll refrain, but I couldn't stay sober, man. And, I can get sober, but, I couldn't like live in my own body, man. It was just fucking too uncomfortable. I just had these like in recovery, they call it like ruminating thoughts. I was just living in the past, and there was a lot of stuff like that I carried, the original wound, we call it, the childhood shit. Then I compounded it with some physical traumas overseas and then my own shit. But anyways, I say all that because I was in and out of rehabs, bro. It was like in and out. Like I couldn't even finish like a semester at community college, and I remember thinking, dude, why can't I just go kick ass in the military for 6 years, and get out and I can't do this life thing. I couldn't, man. So, again, I just went through too much too quick for too long, but anyways, I, was in and out of rehab at one point in time. Actually, during COVID in 2020, I went through like probably the worst run I had ever been on in my entire life. And it was scary, bro. Like the world shut down and I just got stuck, man, in my addiction, like stuck. And it was scary, man. I just probably used for a year straight. And I went pretty far out there, but I think the ass kicking was enough to get me clean. So I went to rehab and I like to call it, the universe or God put some like miraculous, like dudes in my life. And I got clean and I found my tribe. I was doing AA really heavy. But I remember thinking, dude, like, so I ended up stringing together about 2.5 years that time, which before that, I think like 4 months was the most I had like ever gotten continuously. I was just in and out of fucking rehab, man. And, for years, dude. And, that ass kicking in 2020 was severe enough, I think, bro. It was like, okay, any way but my way. You know what I mean? I can't do this life thing at all. And, God, the universe or whatever, man, he just put these guys in my life. And then I slowly started to learn how to look people in their eye again. I got the car back. I got the license back. I got a girl. I got a dog. Went back to school, started fixing. I started living again, and I hadn't been living in years. But I remember I was really active in recovery. I was in therapy. I was in like a combat PTSD program at the VA. I got a job. I was helping people. I was working at a rehab. I was doing all the things, man. And I remember thinking still, I was like working with guys. I had a sponsor. I was really active in recovery. And like the veteran community as well, right? So I was of service, I was plugged in, I was doing all the things, you know, but I remember thinking sometimes, you know, I call my shower thoughts. Like, dude, I'd be in the shower sometimes, dude, and I was like, dude, life shouldn't be this fucking hard, man, because I would just go somewhere, you know, and shit in the past, man. Like, living in that shame, just swimming in that muck. I was living right in the present. I was doing everything that I could, should, and would to like take care of myself. You know, I was of service. I was taking care of my body. I had a righteous chick. I had probably like the best friends like I could ask for, and I still do to this day. But I don't know, man. If you ever struggled with fucking like, I don't know. I think like some depression, man, when it goes fucking unchecked, it like turns into this thing of despair. You know, like there's some shit in my past that's just fucked no matter how you look at it. You know, at least I thought that at the time. You know, I just had this fixed mindset, and it's fucking brutal sometimes. You know, you like lose loved ones. You know, you in my own journey. You know, I had some family stuff that fucking I don't know, man. I had really unhealthy attachment to my story, man, and it kept me sick for a really fucking long time. You know, and so, anyways, I say that with I had relapse after that. After I got about 2.5 years, man, you know, after those shower thoughts and all that shit, you know, and I remember along that time I had heard like MAPS, you know, the Multidisciplinary Association of Psychedelics or whatever. I had heard they were starting to do stuff with MDMA, psilocybin, and all that stuff, and that was the first I had heard about. Like, hey, they're using psychedelics for vets primarily because society can like get behind, you know, the arrow. Like, I think plant medicines in my own life, I can attest to it. It's fucking changed everything for me. Every fucking thing for me. But society can get behind, you know, hey, why are all these vets like why are 20 at least 22 a day killing themselves, you know? And then that's at least, right? So society can get behind vets using plant medicine because it's righteous enough, right? So anyways, I looked into it. I started doing my research. You know, I have like a background in recovery, so there was that kind of thing a little bit. Like, am I doing the right thing? You know, am I just trading one thing for another? And that's the thing I've had like to revisit a few times. I've had to talk to you about it. I've had to talk about people that I love and trust about it. Um, and it's I think deep down inside, I know that my intentions were pure and it was to heal. I wasn't chasing a fucking head change. You know what I mean? I just didn't want to live with that fucked up shit in my head anymore. You know, plant medicine wasn't the first door that I knocked on, you know, and I did my research. I actually originally signed up for a program to do ayahuasca. I think it was in Costa Rica. I did all the prep work for about 2 months. And then the week before I found out my like the passport got declined or my visit or whatever. So, but anyways, I ended up signing up through a retreat with the Heroic Hearts Project. They had a domestic retreat in Oregon, and dude, that fucking place rocks, man. So I did my retreat. We had 2 ceremonies with psilocybin. We did the prep work for about a month and a half before. Um, we met up. We were at the the retreat place. Yeah, and then I remember the first day we sat with the medicine. Uh, it's funny because you like land there. We meet everybody. You do breathing exercises. You do some yoga stuff, and then the next morning you wake up early and we go to the facility, and we like take the psilocybin. I think at like 8 in the morning, and then you know like we didn't eat that morning like on purpose, and then by 8:20, bro, you're starting to blast off. You know, I think it's like 3.5 or you know an eighth or some change or whatever we ended up taking, and it was fucking intense for me, man. About an hour in, they offer us like a booster, right? And if you were like a betting man, you would think like, hey, the guy who struggled with addiction for the better part of a decade is gonna want the booster, you know, he wants to get high. But dude, I remember like they came and knocked on my thing because you put those eye shades on, and you lay down. They say, hey, we're gonna offer you a booster. I was like, fuck no, man, you guys fucking crazy. I'm like up here already, man. And I remember thinking, dude, fuck ayahuasca, fuck intentions. Like, I'm just on the ride. Like, I'm somewhere, bro. Like, I guess intentions were nice to maybe like anchor you back in reality a little bit, but it was intense, man. It was really intense. And I had taken shrooms probably like two handfuls of times, as like in my younger years with a beer and a chick or something. But there's something different when you do it with intention, set and setting with the right people, and maybe those eye mask thing too, because you're letting your subconscious do whatever it
Yeah,
has
there's
to.
something to that.
Dude, bro. So I remember I had a really like kinetic experience, they called it. I guess my legs were just the whole time, just I was like running. Not literally running, but they're like, dude, your legs didn't stop the whole fucking time. And then I remember it was intense, bro. And I think, at least my own opinion, to let go of some of that shit you've been holding on to a long time, you got to visit it. You got to, and looked, it looked, and I remember like my story, man. It wasn't, I've, you can say I've been through a lot in my life. Some of it circumstantial, some of it self-inflicted, but I don't think I ever woke up one day wanting to like cause harm to other people and myself, especially like lasting harm, but sometimes in this life thing, man, we make decisions that affect us, in the future, but it's not like, I've like said it in the past, my past isn't like a life sentence, so I remember that first day was challenging. It was rough, dude, like extremely challenging, almost to the point where I remember thinking, I don't want to do it the next day. You know what I mean? And then, but we get done, lots of crying, dude, lots of tears. But I remember immediately afterwards feeling lighter, like I felt like I got hit by a train, of course, but I felt lighter. And then I talked to the doc, and he was like, "Hey, Billy, when that happens, that real kinetic experience, we believe that it's your body letting go of all that shit, letting go of all that shit." And it's funny because there was this dude there, some like guy who's like special forces, big boy, like giant dude, and uh, I guess he was going like this, like physically, like contracting the whole time, and he was a big boy, like kind of scary big. But I asked him, I was like, "How'd you do?" And like everybody else had like a pleasant enough experience, I guess, if you were to measure it, or like middle of the road experience. But apparently, him and I had like really intense ones. Like, I guess it was a trip because he kept like physically contracting up top, and my legs were just running. And then me and him spoke afterwards, and he kind of said that his was really intense and it was challenging. So the next day, we do the kind of same thing. We debrief, yada yada, and then we do it the next day. And I remember it was more of like an enjoyable experience. And that guy had said the same thing, And then he was like, "Dude, I was getting ready to go back to all these things I think's wrong with me, but the medicine said no. This is what we're showing you today." And then I remember
Right.
that the music was good. I was hugging my pillow. It was kind of just, it was much more like quote unquote pleasurable experience. So I think the first day just rocked me, and the second day was more of the hug, And then I remember I got back from that retreat, and it was a trip, bro. And David, you've said this a few times, and I like say it a lot in my head, and I tell other people, bro. It's like, ooh, fuck. I remember like, uh, remember no stranger to therapy or fucking rehab talk or recovery talk. You know what I mean? And I remember like therapists or like people would say, just let, when disturbing thoughts enter your head, just let them pass without judging them. And you had said, you're like, yeah, that must be nice, that like must be fucking nice. And I remember thinking that like people be like, why do you relapse? Or why do you do this? Or why don't you just fucking call me? And it's like, dude, do you think I'm actively like deciding to fuck my life up with, and I'm not trying to avoid any responsibility, but it's like, dude, I have, what is it in recovery? We say, I don't have a problem with the drink. I have a problem with the think, and it's
Mm.
just fucking in there, man. And then it's like, I'll build my life up for X amount of time. I'll get the things back. I'll get the trust. I'll get the love back. I'll get this whatever going. And then fuck one day I just go and I fucking fuck my life up, for a weekend at a time, sometimes 4 days at a time. And outside looking in, that doesn't make any sense, but at least for myself, it was like a fucking moment of relief, right? So I remember shortly after the experience, the retreat, I came home, I got off all like the gabapentin. I had a prescription for Adderall that I was kind of sneaking, that I knew I shouldn't have been taking, but I was. I get back from the retreat, I get off both of those, so no medication anymore. Um, and then I remember I was at my girlfriend's house. She was at school. I was like cleaning her fridge, uh, and my dog was being cool little Lulu over there. And then I remember I was cleaning the fridge, and this was probably like 2 weeks removed from the retreat. I remember thinking, like, I like heard the thoughts, I felt them, and it was the old song and dance, shame, or you're less than, or remember all that fucking bullshit back there in your past. That's who you are, whatever. We all have it, right? Uh, dude, I fuck swear on everything, bro. I was like, I caught it. I was like, I hear you. We're not doing that right now. And then it just went away. I fuck on my skin, bro. Caught my breath, probably cried a little bit, and I was like, fuck, I didn't avoid it. I didn't act like it didn't happen. I just, like I told it, it's like, we are not doing that right now. And I shook my head a little bit afterwards and went back to cleaning and stuff. And then shortly after that, bro, like I said, like I got off my meds. Um, and then I started to like AA is a big part of my life. It's foundational. It's fundamental. It's all that shit. There's community. There's connection. There's purpose. I'm of service a lot. But again, dude, I was going to meetings in the past all the fucking time. I had a sponsor. I was working with other people. But I think after the medicine, dude, I'm releasing all that fucking bullshit, bro, that like I carried around forever, even after doing the steps and all that stuff. But I started waking up at 5:30 every morning and do like my morning routine while I'm waiting for like the coffee to brew. And I started hitting 6:30 morning meetings every day. Every day I started to do that. And then I just fucking started like to build a routine, and it started with waking up at 5:30, doing a morning routine or a reading. And then I go to these like meetings, and then dude, it was like a game changer for me. And then momentum was established shortly after that. I remember I found like a coach for like to like work out with. So I got home right away. I got off my meds. I started hitting the 6:30 morning meetings after waking up at 5:30, and I started to train my body. And then I started hitting the sauna. And dude, if we take out all like Eastern theology stuff and Western fucking religion and practices, right? At the bare minimum, what plant medicine does, at least for me, man, it makes you want to be like a better, healthier, more complete individual, right? Or we can just say healthier and more complete, I guess, right? And dude, I remember I got home and I wanted, like, that medicine was fucking sacred, man. It was like the fucking, it's like, if this didn't work, what else, man? So I'm gonna fucking deliver on it, man. I'm gonna do the integration work after the fact. I'm gonna take care of my body, mind, spirit. It's part of the triangle. And then so I started to do that, and uh I was kicking ass there for a few months. I know I still am, and I had like a knee surgery thing, and I've sat with more of the medicine. Like I've been on additional retreats, and then I found you guys for the microdose program. And as you and I sit here today, right now, I can confidently say, bro, and this isn't a little fucking like a catch sales phrase, saying this is the best I've done as an adult in my entire life. That's fucking pretty cool to be able to say that.
You can disclose how much I've been paying you to say that.
Oh yeah. No money, no honey.
How long ago was that first retreat? When was that? That HHP retreat?
Yeah, July of last year.
Okay, so dude, so you got clean the first time after COVID for like 2.5 years before you relapsed, right?
Yes, sir.
And now it's been like 1 year, essentially, like a year and change since that retreat, right?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
What's different now? Right? Like, does your current sobriety almost feel like unproven? 'Cause it's like, well, fuck, I've gone longer than this before and still fallen off the bandwagon. Or does something like fundamentally feel different now where you're like, there's no future where I would even go back to that? I'm not fucking jinxing you to go do heroin again, by the way, but genuinely curious, like how you think about that in your mind.
Challenge accepted. I'm kidding, bro. Dude, you ask such good questions. I love it, bro. Uh, dude, I've said this a few times, brother. Like, the the recovery I have now is not even comparable to the one before. You know, at least in terms of like and I could say that with conviction too. Uh it's totally different, bro. Like I guess the whole like the spiritual side of, life or the program, like I guess this I don't know, it's different, bro, for sure. Like I think yeah, fundamentally something has changed. I think I've been able to build and feel momentum, you know, all the work that I like I'm not just like checking the boxes to check the boxes, which in the past I've like
Right.
frantically done that almost obsessively. But I think, I and in my own life, I have to, check a little bit more of the boxes than your like average person to stay right sized, and uh but dude, I don't know. It's I've been able like to build momentum and feel it, and it's a nice thing to be able to do, man.
I think so too. I don't think that you're the person anymore who even would do that. Because we talk about you didn't have I mean, you've said it yourself. It's not a problem with the drink. It's a problem with the think, right? So it's like you didn't have a drug problem. You had a drug solution to all these other problems. And now the plant medicine has helped you to solve these problems better and also to see them not even as problems anymore, right? Like you're not that same person at all. Perhaps a decent analogy, and I say this as someone who's never uh, struggled with an addiction like that, but it's like when you have an addiction, you're just like drowning in the ocean. And then the AA stuff comes into the picture, all the recovery tools. And like now you've got some fucking arm floaties on. So like you're not actively drowning, but you're still fighting all those waves and shit. And now like you're just standing on the beach and maybe it's still raining, but like you're literally not drowning anymore and not like keeping yourself afloat. It's like you're not even fighting the same struggles that you once were. I don't know if you would agree with that, but that's just kind of how I conceptualize it.
You're so fucking hot right now. That's
Billy, keep that
a
private.
good
Come
way.
on, this is a public podcast.
Yeah, dude, that's a beautiful way to put it, bro. Really, really,
You
man.
keep
And
that. You use that.
yeah, well, think about it. Like, you work in this space, right? And like, whether there was a combat story in there, whether there was like a dysfunctional upbringing where therapists call it adverse childhood reactions or events or whatever the fuck, whether there was a divorce in there, dude, everybody has shit. Everybody has shit, dude. And we don't, everybody does, and like not to compare my hell to anybody else's, like, but there were fucking times in my life, dude, where I didn't really want to fucking wake up. I didn't. What's the fucking point, man? I can't fix that shit. That's just the way that it is. And again, I had a fucking really unhealthy attachment to my story and my past. And I think without the plant medicine, I would have like it would have
Were
remained to be fixed. Like,
Were you
fixed as
aware
in
of
set.
that? Were you aware, like what you just said? I had a really unhealthy attachment to my past. Did you know that, like while you were using and like while you were trying to get sober and everything, or was that something that plant medicine showed you as like this is part of the problem?
Oh, once again, good question. Yeah, brother. Yeah, I wasn't aware of it. I thought, like my perception is my reality. So I thought, hey, this is, like I grew up this way, so I am this. I went through this, so that's a part of my identity. So fuck, what is it
Yep.
like? Parents were drug addicts, went to fucking Iraq, fucking got divorced, all this shit. So I just like, without even wanting to, bro, it was just like kind of, without the tools, and like I just thought that that was me, and then it's a trip on that first when I sat with the medicine the first time, dude. I remember, yeah, I think like what you had said in a roundabout way, it was the medicine showed me is like, dude, those are like parts of your like, what is it like? Those are names of the chapter, or those are names of the chapter, not the title of the fucking book, bro. And it's
Ah,
like
I like that.
you like that,
That's
huh?
cool.
But it's like
That's good. I'm gonna take
if
that.
yeah, take that, papa. But if I like fell back there and like in the past, and if I had some events or chapters in my life where I fell short of where I would have ideally liked to perform or whatever, um, maybe some of my like conduct was unbecoming, if you would, or whatever the fuck, who knows, man. But it's like, dude, that's not my fuck, like that's not me at all, and it's like and I just remember, dude, it was intense, bro. And it was, and I kind of saw myself like dancing through some of these events in my life. Like during that first time, it's a trip, dude. I was like observing this like Native American woman, and I don't know, maybe I'm a female on the inside or the divine feminine, if you would. But there was this like Native American woman like dancing, and her whole like tribe was around her. And this is a trip, but it's like they're like chanting the little whatever dance, music, and then she like fell during her dance, and I remember she was in all this pain and she was crying, and then it was like immense pain, and then I remember like because you experience this stuff. It's not like you're just watching it, but like just experience her like muster this like and she used like the chants of her people like to catch her breath, adjust to the tune, find her rhythm again, and keep dancing through the tears and through the pain, and then she found her stride again, and she kept dancing. But that was with all the fucking pain, with all the support, with all the. And I remember like that first day when I was like really struggling. I don't remember much of the experience except that part, what I just said, and it's like, yeah, I fell back there, but it's only a failure if I like, you know, fail
Stay
to
down.
learn the lesson kind of shit.
Yeah. Interesting. You're a Native American woman in a past life, Billy.
I was like a little hesitant to say that, but it's
I'll
my
say it for
truth.
you. Bro, so you were like in and out of recovery multiple times, or in and out of these like treatment centers and rehab centers and shit, using heavily in like 2020, right? And then that's on the backside of that, got clean for like 2.5 years. If someone had, because it's funny how you said like I was really good at the recovery thing, like I was good at showing up to the rehab and telling my story and saying all the right things and like looking like you were doing the work and shit. Um, if someone had just given you 5 grams of mushrooms back then, would it have worked? Like, do you think that there was some part of you that like had to go through that process to get to the point where the medicine had its effect? Or do you feel like it was just I finally had access to this thing that I've always needed all along?
Fuck, bro. Good question
You
again.
don't have to you don't have to tell me what a good question it was every question. I appreciate it, but my ego doesn't need that from you, Billy. I do like it though. That's why I love talking to you. You make me feel
Yeah.
great about myself.
Stop. Well, dude, these are questions that I've thought of a lot too. Hey, if I had this, or if I found this, or if this was afforded to me, or if this didn't happen, would I still have ended up like that? And it's nice to think about. Also, I got to be like, can't put like too much like weight to all that stuff. But I think about, dude, I almost fucking died a few times. You know what I mean? And some of that is fucking recovery shit, that deep dark depression, or the PTSD shit, or unable to live in your own fucking skin. That's fucking hell on earth, man. It's fucked up to like walk around not wanting to be here, or like living in shame all the fucking time. But yeah, dude. Ideally, I mean, like, in a perfect world, like there's like one school of thought that I think about, like, dude, that yeah, maybe if I found this, like, maybe if there was like a program around earlier, you know what I mean, that I would have fucking saved myself 5 years of fucking bullshit. Maybe. How effective this medicine has been thus far. It would have been nice to do this a decade ago. But then there's another
Mm-hmm.
one, man. My story is mine. Maybe there were lessons in all that shit. Maybe I had to live through all that stuff. Maybe like maybe I didn't just waste fucking 5 years in and out of rehab. Maybe I learned something here, what didn't work or what did work, or maybe I learned something here. Maybe I met the right people here, and maybe I
Right.
tried A, B, and C before I finally made it to this door. So it's it wasn't. I don't know, bro. So yeah, again,
Yeah.
yeah, but dude, honestly, too, though, man, uh, some of us vets, dude, or like people with, and it's not just to say vets, man. Some of us fucking, dude, I work in recovery, man, or treatment, or whatever, and uh, dude, people are fucking hurting out there, bro. And some people go to rehab. They call it the rehab shuffle. They do what I did. They were in and out of rehab, in and out of rehab. And I'm not saying that plant medicine is like an antibiotic. You take it and you're fucking cured forever. But I know some really fucking good people that struggled to fucking maintain sobriety for a long time, and their stories look like mine. They had a sponsor. They were doing all their things. They were going to therapy. They were going to the gym. They were hanging out with people, but dude, like, this fucking medicine is fucking magical. The mystical experiences that come with it. And I think it's sacred for a fucking reason, man. Like, I've done the work after the fact, and I found you guys, which fucking helped me immensely, immensely. I think it poured concrete over the like foundations in which I sat, like solidified it and helped me keep that momentum going. And then have the like accountability and the structure of it and the support and the leadership. But dude, if you can fucking say, okay, I have a friend last December, he passed away, and his story looked like mine. He was a pilot at one time. He's like came from a like well-to-do family. He's my brother. I love him. But he relapsed one more time and he didn't wake up. And his parents had to fly out from Kansas City to bury their fucking kid, dude. And he was a young buck. He was like 28. And it was fucking tragic, man. He just couldn't fucking shake it, man. And then him and I were talking about plant medicine before that. And I'm not saying plant medicine would have said, hey, and even his parents were on board for it. And they're good old like Midwest people, you know what I mean? Or whatever fucking Kansas City is, but middle America kind of stuff, but they had their good old Southern manners and stuff like that. But dude, like, you're not here anymore, dude. And I think, fuck, man, I know this medicine would have helped them immensely. So some of the times, like, to go back to the question, man, it's like, this medicine exists, man. And I think if done in the fucking right way with the structure and the support, dude, at least in my own story, and I could fucking scream this. I'm not saying mine's like everybody else's, but it wasn't the first door that I knocked on, and I've had to do like an immense amount of work after the fact. But dude, it's changed my fucking life.
That's kind of what I want to focus in on is like, as you said, the immense amount of work that had to get done after the fact. Because I agree with what you said. These things are extremely powerful. It can change the whole trajectory of your life, but only if you want it to. Like only if you actually allow it to. Like you also could have had that experience and then gone back to the same old ways of being, like when shit did get hard again, but you continued to actively make that choice not to. I saw something the other day that was like the world record for the longest stretch of recovery is still only 24 hours, meaning like it's always a choice, like every day, how you are going to proceed and how you're going to deal with the struggles that come back up. It's a fucking bummer about your friend, man.
Yeah. Thank you, buddy.
Um, Before we get into that stuff, like the integration and everything like that, one other thing I want to ask you about, just kind of me personally, actually. I know that like surrendering to a higher power is like a big part of AA and recovery and everything, right? And you had said before, I forget why you said this, but you were like, any way but my way. Because like you kind of knew that everything that you were doing was like not good. Like I keep trying to fix myself and I keep having the same problems, right? And like this is a paradox that Alan Watts talks about quite a bit of like, okay, you want to improve, but how are you supposed to get better if you are the one that needs to improve? Like if you were capable of improving, wouldn't you have done it already? So it's like this recursive paradox. Is that what you meant when you said that, or am I just like reading way too much into some random phrase that you used?
Hey, dude, I got some depth in me, dog. Uh,
I never
I
said you
mean,
didn't, bro.
I didn't know the word recursive paradox, but I knew the second part. I knew paradox. uh, no, yeah, yeah, brother. It's in that same realm for sure, for sure. It's cool too. They say because God lives in the paradox kind of shit. But
Oh, look at that.
yeah, you like that, huh? Actually, yeah, yeah. But yeah, what is it like? The problem mind cannot fix the problem mind with the problem mind. And
Mm.
the God or the God concept itself, dude. It's like I don't know. Ask anybody to define spirituality without using spirituality in the definition. You know what I mean? And it's like you can have fucking idiots and fucking people argue this, whatever. But it's like I'm gonna use some like recovery talk. They say like deep down inside every man, woman, and child is a fundamental idea of God. And recovery's cool because it's like, dude, pick your God. God can be good, orderly direction, group of drunks or whatever the fuck, At least for me, it started with, bro, it's the fucking like us, I guess. Everybody in that AA room with me. We see it work for this dude who had no teeth when he came in. You know, he's in prison for 20 years, and now he's sponsoring 20 people, and he just took 5 years, and he's happy, and he got teeth back, and he's smiling, and he talks about God, and he'll even say, I don't know if God exists 24/7, but I have this feeling in my heart when I'm connected, and I'm of use to my fellows, and I'm like, and it's like I can get behind that, right? Like I have this feeling in my heart, in my body, when I'm of service, like purpose through service, when I'm like getting like comfortable and like with like parts of my past, and I'm like I pray or I meditate, and I don't even know if I'm doing it quote unquote correctly all the time, but I do know right now is the closest I've ever been to God or this God concept of the universe or goddess. And and dude, I probably am no closer to throwing a name on it right now than I was 10 years ago. You know what I mean? But could I do more work into, my spirituality? Of course, you know what I mean? But does my routine and like my life involve like practices that incorporate the spirituality component? Most definitely, And then I couldn't tell you that God's real or he's not. You know what I mean? I couldn't, I could say in my own life and my very short journey of actively seeking and trying to establish conscious connection is what they call it, right? That it's working for me. So I can't tell you or Joe or Adam or Steve or whatever, you got to do this, you got to pray to God, you got to do all this stuff. It's like I can only tell you in my own life after being like vehemently, I wouldn't even say like fucking, I didn't have like a stick up my ass against God or the God concept. I would definitely have fun though. Oh, if God was, like everybody else does, I would entertain the whole fucking bullshit. It was written by man, yada yada yada. But I didn't really know enough to even fucking like have that argument. I just didn't think it was for me. But it's fucking this part's a trip, dude. I do not think I can't speak for all humans, dude. I don't think people can fucking recover or truly have a shift in perception, living in fear to living with love. I don't think that comes without some form of God, whether that's
I
spirituality,
agree.
whether you know what I mean. I don't think it, at least
Mhm.
for myself.
No, I agree with that actually. Like in our experience of like running this program, I don't think you can like fully get to the other side of like healing without some faith in something somehow. Like you have to have faith in something above yourself. I maybe it's possible and I just am not aware of how yet. But so regardless of how you define God or like your conception of it, what does like the surrendering element look like to you? Because am I correct? Like that is part of the AA, right? It's like surrender to a higher power, right? So what's that? What does that mean to you? The surrender part, like whatever the higher power is, but like how does that actually work in your life?
Uh, it's not super duper official or anything. It could be like, God, please come into my life and direct my thinking. And
Mm.
uh, yeah, and it could, I like heard it from a lady like 10 years ago. She's like, surrender has been a process for me. And I like to say that. I don't know if it's true, but it sounds nice to say. But yeah, I can have to relearn how to surrender, or I have to surrender like multiple times throughout my day. When I start thinking about how the world should be or how you should act or how you should talk to me or how my dad should look at me when we talk or not look at me when we talk. When I start
Mm.
throwing too much weight on that, and that could be something small, right? But what I'm feeling after the fact can be big, and the look from a family member could drive you up a fucking wall. But like say for instance, like my kid brother right now is struggling severely with addiction, in and out of jail, he's on the streets. And it's natural enough, to want to grab the wheel. Let me set up his insurance. Let me call these places. Let me get him into a place. Let me just fucking like, I'm driving the ship. I'm driving the ship. I'm not equipped to drive that ship. You know what I mean? I have too much skin in the game, you know? And then this is a process of my life that this last year or so I've been able to navigate the best I ever have been. You and your wife have helped me with this, and our group, our support. I wouldn't say you necessarily direct me on what to do, but you were there to help me like process everything coming with it and gave me the warnings that come with this kind of stuff. But dude, I was able to get to a spot where like, and it came from love. It wasn't me like betraying him, which it did feel like that at times, but it's like, hey, little brother, I love you, bro. And if you want help, I'm here to help you, but this is what my help looks like, you know? And then, it hurts, because he's either unable or I would say unwilling or unable to follow through with that help at the time. And, I think it's because he's out of his mind, but he's not done running and gunning yet. So I can't, quote unquote, you can say play God in that situation like I had in the past. And when it's not going my way, what am I going to do? I'm going to find some sort of relief, and unfortunately, like my ways of coping or self-medicating, they fucking destroy my life. But, so they could say, hey, Billy, quit playing God. He has his own God. You know what I mean? And I've had to remind myself on that one during that process frequently. And that was like surrendering to God. Like, hey, God, like, please come in my life and help me with this. And, that could,
Yeah.
again, it wasn't a super duper official God. I guess you would say, you can make the argument that God like speaks to me or works through me through other people. And I got direction on that through you and the program and like guys in my life that I trust, and
Well, that fucking checks out because every day me and Cordy thank God for using us as an implement of his will to touch the lives of other people. So you're welcome, Billy. No, but that's actually super helpful to hear that, how you think about like, yeah, dude, I have to surrender multiple times a day. It's not just like, I've surrendered now, like, check, like, move on from there. It's like an ongoing process and a constant process. So that's cool. That's actually helpful for me to think about. I'm at a weird point right now, dude. You know that scene from Fight Club where they're like, "You've met me at a really weird part in my life." Like, I feel like that right now. I'm just like learning about Orthodox Christianity, like Eastern Orthodox Christianity, like out of nowhere. The last time I did mushrooms, the whole time, it was just like Jesus on the cross, like in front of me, and I haven't really known what to do with that. So I'm asking you about God and shit.
trip out.
Um, so back to your mushroom journey with the fucking dancing Native American. Um, what else happened to you that week? So like you don't have to go into specifics of like the trip unless you want to, but like that first time when it was like that kinetic experience, do you have a sense of like what you were letting go of? Because I agree with what that person told you of like it's your body kind of physically moving some of the shit and like expelling the fucking trauma from like your muscles. So do you have a sense of like what happened there? And I don't even actually think it's that important to say like it was X, Y, and Z thing because the end result is just like you felt lighter, right? But
Yeah.
how did you make sense of that at the time?
Remember how just like a little bit ago we were saying like was I aware that I had this
Yeah,
like vice script lock on my past in the story? I think maybe that was like through the perspective shift, like that's what I had to do to finally like change my like view and like perception on like myself and my past. I think it was letting go of, I was what, 35 at the time, letting go of it, 30 plus years of this unhealthy ego kind of thing. I am my past. And yeah, so I think I probably like dropped the rock like in terms of like I am that, and I guess what was that shame, I guess, and I'm like shame's been a big part of my life, and it, I can like if I'm not doing work, I can definitely feel and live in shame a little bit more than I'd care to. It still comes up, but dude, I don't know. It was like this little thing. It's like dude, you've been through some shit, dude. If anybody deserves a little bit of grace right now, it's you. But fuck, to give that to yourself, to give grace to yourself, it's like a fucking foreign concept, bro. It's like asking an ant to like give you like an aerial view of above. It's like it's not gonna fucking happen. You know what I mean? And it's like the medicine, at least for myself, it like afforded me that ability. Like it's like, dude, everybody on the planet's deserving of love and connection and a little bit of grace and whatever. And I was able to, I guess, let go of that fixed perspective on that I had on about myself and my past, brother.
So what happened after that? So you shared that one experience of like, cleaning the fucking fridge and then these thoughts attacking you and just actually being able to like notice them, let them go and be like, we're not going into that right now. What like tangibly started to shift for you right after that? And like how did that kind of unfold?
I I think I'd mentioned it just a little bit ago. I got off my meds, or the meds, and then I started waking up every morning at 5:30, uh, incorporating a morning routine, which in the past I had done like at a scattered, or I would say that I would do it. I know I should have done it, but I didn't do it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep.
Wake up early, go to my meeting, 6:30 morning meeting, and
Yep.
I would go to that every day, and then I would even start. I would go to a meditation meeting after that sometimes, and that was probably the first like what was that, August, September? Yeah, I did that probably every day for 3 months. I started working out. I started boxing again. I started hit the sauna regularly. I cleaned up my diet. And none of those were like monster shifts overnight. I had done all those things in the past. Uh, Maybe not consecutively or like consistently, I guess. But one thing that I had noticed, like I definitely like my routine was like centered around like doing things that improved my health, or connected them a little bit. So waking up early, getting like my spirit food through the meeting that day, uh, going to school or work, and then working out or going to the sauna afterwards, if not going to another meeting in the evening, which I probably did, So it's like, dude, I checked all the boxes, but I wasn't like neurotically doing them. I'm like, dude, I want to do
Yeah,
these
it's
things.
yeah. The reason I kind of honed in on that like attachment to the old identity thing, we've got a couple new dudes inside of our program right now. Actually, bro, you met them the other day, some of our fucking Canadian friends.
Oh
Um,
yeah, cool, bro.
and it's, you probably have seen this in recovery too, like when you're working with a new person, when somebody, you can see when somebody is so attached to their old stories and like there's probably part of you that just wants to like fucking shake them, like take them by the shoulders and just like shake them, but there's actually not really anything that you can do to accelerate that process. And that's actually something that we've seen with like people that we've worked with or other people who like they're fucking riding high because they're killing it in life and they just want to come in hot to somebody else's life and start giving them all the advice and telling them all these things to do. And like you got to meet someone where they're at, right? So like it's funny for us where I know exactly what's coming down the pike for someone as they go through the microdosing, and I'm just waiting for them to see it themselves too. So there's really not a shortcut to that. But what's interesting to me when you're saying this about your habits and stuff, going to the meetings, it's all stuff that you'd actually been doing before also. There wasn't like it wasn't brand new for you. And you've seen in our program our approach that we take with habit change. It's like twofold. It's like we have the discipline and the willpower with like our habit tracker and like I'm going to wake up and do this thing. But I also always say you can't habit track your way out of feeling like a worthless piece of shit if that's how you define yourself. So like that self-definition and that attachment to the old stories, like that had to get let go of. And that's why you've been consistent now with all of this new shit instead of forcing it down your throat for like 2 weeks and then falling off the bandwagon again, which everybody's about to do because it's literally the last day of the fucking year as we record this. So New Year's resolutions are about to hit and everybody's going to work really hard for 2 fucking weeks, but they're still the same them having the same problems and the same attachments to the same old stories.
That's
So
your brother.
I'm not even going anywhere with a question with this. It's just really interesting to hear you having those experiences that we talk about, and like that's the exact framework that I try to get people to understand. But yeah, there's no fucking shortcuts to it, I guess, other than going for a heroic hearts retreat. Like that actually, that kind of is the shortcut, I
You
guess.
do a little macro dose or a spiritual dose. Bam, go get healthy, bro. But yeah, so but
So
it's go ahead.
no, no, no. You finish your thought, and then I'll ask my next question.
I know some friends in the field, right? And one of them, like told me, he's like, this isn't new knowledge, but it's just kind of how he said it, which was cool. He's like, the way that the brain is hardwired, it will stay in the comfortable rather than seek the new, the healthy, even when we know we could, should,
For
would.
sure. Yeah.
But it's like that's just how like brains are wired, you know. So I don't think I would like, dude. I've always been like, and I would like say this with like humility, dude. I always think like deep down inside, I've always been like fun loving, kind of high energy kind of person, maybe a little naive in certain areas, you know what I mean? But, never, like, so then when it, like when I went down my roads or whatever, I kind of like, there's definitely a big disconnect between like the way I was living and my values, heart and mind, the disconnect, then enter, mental health, if you would, when there's any type of disconnect, you get whatever, so it's depressed and whatever. And then before you know it, it's like some of that stuff, it just over a long period of time, like I can see my nose right now, right? You can too, but I'm not consciously processing it. So a lot of those thoughts, they become reoccurring, then even though they're negative or not. And then it's like, dude, this is just the way the world is. This is just my thoughts. And it's like, dude, some of the time I think that's more fucked up than drinking or using, man. Like my drinking or using came down here, dude. How long did I think I was unworthy or I was fucking less than or I didn't fucking belong with a woman or a fucking good set of friends or a job? You know what I mean? And I didn't think I consciously thought those things, but why the fuck else would I fucking go years without them? Or then when I
Mm-hmm.
finally did come into those spaces, I'd fuck it up. So
Yeah.
I think, we think the way that we think and we operate the way we operate for, for a reason, for reasons, and it's conditioning over X amount of time. So a therapist telling me, or even me coming to the conclusion myself in a therapeutic setting, like, oh yeah, I am worthy of love and I do deserve whatever, yada, yada, yada. Like, dude, that's nice. But you're pretty much like throwing like paper airplane in the wind at that point, dude. If I've fucking been thinking this shit for fucking 10 fucking years and it's fucking my mind and my experiences have pulled data from all these other events, whether they're true or not, to reinforce that lie that I've been telling myself, that was probably a fucking piece of armor at one time or a wall that ended up becoming a little prison. Like, I think more times than not, people get stuck in that. You know what I mean? And then it's like dude, like I said too, I have to check a few boxes, for me to stay right size, but I don't think I would be afforded the ability to fucking get outside of that old prison, those old lies that I've told myself if it weren't directly because of plant medicine.
So, what did the continued work look like? So, the plant medicine, that big retreat, it showed you those things. Like it showed you what was going on. It helped you to detach from those old identities, kind of shook up the fucking etch a sketch. So now you get an opportunity to like rewrite that stuff. So what continued from there? So like you had the tangible stuff. You're going to the meetings. You're getting your body right. You're getting your mind right. All that kind of stuff. You said before though, how did you phrase it? Like joining our program was like pouring cement onto like the changes in the foundation. I don't know. You know what I'm trying to say?
It
Like
sounded good though.
solidified some shit. So what did we continue like with the microdosing? Like what were you actually doing there?
Okay, so there's things that we should do that we don't. Like I know I should be doing like a morning reading while the coffee's brewing. I know I should send out some gratitude texts. I know I should go to the gym. I know I should read. And I remember when I first met you, it was our second time because our first time was on the phone. It was actually outside my AA meeting. But the second time was at my house and I showed you my nightstand. And I had like 6 books there.
Right.
And all right, well, uh, yeah, and I hadn't read any of them. I probably was like 3 chapters into one of them that had been there for a year. But what I did, I was like, I don't think you and your program necessarily introduced information that I had never fucking heard of. You know, um, there were things and some information that was new for sure, but it wasn't like it was my first time seeing
Nothing
a
was
boob
earth
or something.
shattering.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, I've never seen this before. But I think it was but it was done along with the medicine and like, and I get like when I've tried to explain your program to people, uh, they're like, well, how does that change this? And I'm like, well, habits, right? We got to do these habits first. And then, but it's like, that's one of the wheels that drive the car. It's one of like the mechanisms that kind of like, doubt and change. They're hard, you know? But it's like, so I continue. I started reading every day, whether it was 10 minutes or not. Sometimes 10 minutes would go to 20 minutes. I started journaling all the time, and I started working out X amount of time. Those are like my non-negotiables, right? And then a little bit after that, I would bunk up like how many times I worked out, and then I started doing the sauna, and then that just became a part of my routine. And it wasn't really like effort. Like these are just things that I do, And then then I like my diet. I like tailored that up. When I had the bandwidth or the capacity, whatever, I just eliminated a lot of stuff and I kept it super simple. And then it's funny because I asked a lot of this stuff to a person who's been in my life prominently for years. I just had the bandwidth and like the intention to ask. And I guess the way with this program, uh, there wasn't. I had said I would frantically check these boxes. Who doesn't want to be healthier? So let me do all these things. Let me do all these things. But like unable to kind of feel the results for or from doing these things. So I guess I was able to kind of make the shift. Like let's be intentional, not just habitual. Like intention and consistency. On a long enough timeline, interchange. Or interchange. Um, but yeah, and then I think like with and again like we were like microdosing in this program, but with the program comes connection, right? Which me is huge, vulnerability, and then I don't think there were too many. I think I was the only vet in our program minus the mentor, but there were some cops, and it helped out a lot too because you had house moms there. There was uh a couple there, and it was like which helped me a lot because like dude, I don't come to you guys like just with like at least in the beginning it might be, oh, I'm a vet or I grew up like this so this is why I am the way that I am. It's like no, there's house moms here, there's like a woman like struggling with their relationship, there's a couple here that's just like unpacking stuff from their past, there's a dude here that's just wanting a brighter future. So it's you have all these like stories that bring us here, and then we're able to establish this like middle ground and kind of we all like sync up to our little frequency that we're all creating or and sharing. And then it's like, and then it's, you have like a support group, and then you have like, and it's structured, and we're introducing material that we all work on. And I know deep down inside, if I'm like adhering to my habits, am I doing it 4 days a week? Am I doing it 2 days a week and saying that I'm doing it 4 days a week? I know deep down inside, I don't get yelled at from you guys for doing it. The other guys are saying they're doing it 2 days. Oh, I lagged a little, or how can I get better? And then like the check-in forms you guys do, and it's like a nice, like, it's not a fuck you, come on, change, do better. It's like, how could you be doing better? This change is going to come from within ultimately. Like we can guide you, we can support you, but like this change has to come from within. So how do you make that change? I'm doing this for everybody to I'm doing this intrinsically. Like this is who I am. This is how I operate for me. And then, so yeah, so I think like that was like, that was an instrumental shift, spiritual in nature. You can make that claim that came as a result of your program.
How about some of the intangible things? Because obviously the the retreat cracked a lot of stuff open, but I know that we talked like we kind of continued a lot of that fucking work in our like one-on-one talks and our messages and the check-ins and the group calls and stuff like that. Especially like a lot of those shadow kinds of things that we talked about the origins of them on our last podcast. So what do you think about that in terms of like the work? That's kind of how I visualize it or conceptualize it. It's like a lot of this started at that retreat, and then you continued actually taking action on it and unpacking some of these things over time.
Yeah, brother. Good. Yeah. So my sister asked the other day about like
Hmm.
the medicine, right? And she's a, she has her own stuff, like we all do again, right? And she's interested in the medicine, and I told her to do it. She wants to sit with some of the medicine. She's like, I don't have anything big in my life going on right now. I'm a single mom. I work a lot, but this mundane shit in life, Billy, it's like the concrete jungle and all that shit. I'm supposed to work all the time to pay people to watch my kids, that they're only watching my kids because I'm working all the time, and she's
That's tough.
going on that thing. And I was like, preach, queen, preach, and I remember like, it's like I was sit with the medicine, sit with the medicine. And then she's like, going forward with it, which made me super happy. But as far as like, intangible things, dude, I think it's like, so check this out, like 2 months, probably 3 months after my retreat, I'm doing all these things, I'm getting momentum, and I'm fired up on this life shit, bro. Like, dude, I was like, I'm finally doing better. I'm feeling better. I could tell people that I'm doing good, like, hey, how are you doing? It's like, I did mushrooms, dude. I'm fucking kicking ass. You know what I mean? Uh, but I felt it deep down inside. I was like, dude, there's a shift. But like back to that talk with my sister, it was like, at any day you can say, okay, today's going to be the day that I changed. Today's the day that I'm going to change my perspective and show up for myself or start looking at the world differently. And it's like, that's a nice enough like concept, but what's ideal and what's real are two different things. Again, we think the way that we think for a very like, it's conditioned over fucking years of thinking. The brain's just not going to allow you to do that, man. It takes consistency and intention to make those changes, especially with things that have been going on for fucking decades. So I was like, the medicine kind of like gives you that check. It's like, dude, cash this in now. And whether it's fucking placebo
Mm.
or not, I know that there's like the neuroplasticity part where you get to build these new pathways and stuff. But whether it's fucking placebo or not, it's like, dude, and I fucking cashed that fucking check when I got back, bro, from that retreat. But about 3 months after the fact, dude, I'm doing all these things. I'm taking care of my body. I'm showing up for myself. I'm feeling real good. I'm like feeding the good part of my brain. I'm telling the truth. I'm showing up for myself. I'm waking up early. I'm taking care of my body as opposed to I'm sleeping in. I'm, flirting with chicks when I shouldn't. I'm being lazy or whatever the fuck. But I'm feeding this side, so I'm showing up for myself, which is a good feeling. But I like blew out my knee severely in an injury where I tore a few. I fucked my knee up proper, bro. And I remember like thinking, fuck, bro, I can't do anything physical for a bit. And I'm old now. You know what I mean? And then, but dude, like, and then I knew that I was going to have to get surgery because they're like, dude, you fucked your knee up proper, bro. And like, yeah, but, like, I know that I want to keep this momentum, so I'm going to, right? So, remember what I did? I hopped into service, man. I had to physically be broken down, and like unable to move to like I'm going to start helping people more than I do, So I started. I work at this a treatment center. I think it's the best one in the world. Whoop whoop. But I started to grab some of those dudes on Saturdays. I'd like go to their house and say, "Hey, who wants to go to church?" And there's this like recovery church event. So like guys from our side of the tracks, and then like one guy liked going, then three guys like going. Then I would like start to pick them up on Saturday mornings to go to my sponsors meetings house, and then I just hopped in service, bro. I hopped in service, if we were doing like a pie chart, X amount is spirituality, X amount is service, X amount is working out, X amount is whatever. The physical part couldn't happen anymore for a few months, so I just like use the other part to expand. Dude, service is your life right now, bro. And it paid out, and it's been instrumental in my life. And I've like purpose through service. That's a big, big, big part of my life even to this day. And it's an area of my life where I slept on before. I didn't shine light on it, and it's and then I was like naive to it a little bit or ignorant. Oh, I'll help people to say that I help people or it's a thing that we do. No, fuck no, man. I think that's what God put us here for. And then I wouldn't have gotten there without like blowing out my legs severely. But if anything, it like added a layer of dimension onto my in my recovery and post medicine. But those like intangibles, bro, it's like the community aspect helps a lot in my life because there's vulnerability, there's service, there's connection, there's accountability, everything that comes with that. But I know that I just know that fucking deep down inside I am not the same person, and I'm cashing that fucking check that I told you about. Man, I went
Right.
through some fucking hell in my life, and it doesn't matter if I was a combat vet, my parents did drugs, I went through a gnarly divorce. Those shits don't fucking matter, man. Those are chapters, you know what I mean? And that, this isn't the first door I knocked on, bro. I was a good dude for 10 years trying to find fucking a way to calm the noise in my mind. And I'm not avoiding or skirting any responsibility for the fucked up decisions I made. You know what I mean? Or making light of them at all. But I'm also not living in the fucking shame aspect that comes with that. And then, so yeah, the intangibles for sure, dude. When I'm in the car sometimes I get thoughts, you know what I mean? And, but it's like knowing, dude, that it's like, maybe I'm uncomfortable for 15 minutes while my brain's trying to work out some parts of my past, or I'm fearful of the future. You know what I mean? But it's like to know that that's not the truth, that that's not the narrative. You know what I mean? Like, oh, dude, what a gift. Dude, I'm coming from a fucking dude. I lived with that fucking shame for fucking decades, man. I used to go to school thinking something was wrong with me. I remember going to school thinking that. And then given all my life decisions, you know what I mean? It's like, no shit, why shame was a big factor in my life, but I think deep down inside, I've always been a fucking pretty good dude. And then, I didn't think that for a while though, dude. I didn't even want to fucking wake up and get out of bed for years of my life. So wherever that shift came from, well, the medicine, of course, and the work afterwards. But, uh, when you ask that question of like, what are the intangibles, dude? It's like, I know I might not feel it 24 fucking 7, but I know it's it's like a pillar inside internally. It's like, dude, like, I have what agency over my life, and I'm not stamped with my past, and the future could be whatever the fuck I want it to be if I put in the work.
I have more questions. I'm just absorbing your statements. Why are you laughing?
It's I don't know. It's cool. I don't know. I enjoy because I don't have these like I'm in recovery and stuff, and I have these God talks or these past talks, but I don't get to blend them all the time. And I know that you're like experienced in this world. So it's like a gift, to me at least. Gift like to be able to speak on my story in these like gifts, with like
Well,
somebody who
dude,
speaks the language.
I mean, I appreciate that, man. Corey and I are in this like financial coaching program now, and actually, it starts off with like a call with this money psychologist woman, and I was skeptical as fuck going into it. It was this morning, and she was cool as hell, dude. She's trained in like Jungian psychology, and she a ton of her clients microdose, and like she's super into all this stuff. So we talked for like a long ass time. One of the things that she said, I wrote it down. She's like, she said, shame grows in silence, like talking about all the shit that we're ashamed of as a kid. And it's like it grows in silence, it multiplies in silence. And one of our fucking taglines is like heal out loud so that other people don't suffer in silence. So I really appreciate you coming on here and talking about this because that is how we get other people to stop suffering. Bro, do you still have days you're saying like when you were in the depths of it before you'd wake up and you'd be like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to continue. Like, why am I still doing this? Do you still have any days that are like that where like you're waking up and you're like, why am I continuing? What's the point? Or are those days behind you?
I don't get you. Thoughts for sure every now and then, bro. You know what I mean? Like, but it's like, do I wake up to that daunting despair bullshit? Nah. And then if I do have like a thought, it's a thought. It's not.
So how about even going back to when you did? Because like you didn't just all of a sudden get clean one day. You had like years, right? Like being in and out of rehabs and stuff until you got clean for that stretch and then you relapsed and you got clean again. So what did keep you going? Like even when you had those thoughts when you woke up and you're like, man, like why should I even try again?
Yeah.
I know I asked you in the last podcast, like why didn't you ever kill yourself?
Yeah.
Cordy hates when I ask that question.
I think I'll just have a
But
cup of coffee.
yeah, yeah, dude. But I'm asking because somebody shared that with me recently, actually, inside of our program, where he's like, dude, I feel like I'm at rock bottom again. And like all I keep doing is like, picking up the pieces again. And he's like, he wasn't suicidal. He's like, I would never do that because he's lost people to suicide. He's like, I'm not going to do that to my family. But like, why do you keep going?
Fuck, dude. I would like to say something grandiose right now, bro, but I just fucking, dude, I don't know. I remember multiple times being in a fucking hospital bed or a detox bed in my 30s, dude, just fucking crying, man. And, when your tears run down your mouth and you can taste it, just broken, man. I was fucking broke off, man. I didn't want to do it anymore, man. I wasn't consciously thinking about ending my life, but, there was definitely a time or two where I didn't want to be here, man. That's probably why I was fucking, I didn't start off on fucking severe drugs I don't think anybody who ends up in that situation, whether you fucking trauma preceded the turmoil that comes with addiction. But dude, full blown addiction, if you have a lot of fucked up shit before, you definitely have it during or after, and, dude, I don't know, man. I was dude, wake up and fucking, I don't know, man. Blessed, I guess. I don't know. It's in like hardwired in human DNA to keep going, and dude, man, I couldn't look other people in their fucking eyes for a long time, dude. I fucking got scars on my body from using, and I have like parts of my past that I still have to quote unquote show up for. But it was just like the storms. It's like, how'd you say it, dude? I just I don't like live in the past or whatever, but I'm on this with you guys or whatever, man. It's like not to compare my story to anybody's, bro, but I've been through a lot of shit, man. And again, a lot of it's self-inflicted, but I know dudes who have, been through more shit for sure. You know what I mean? But like, I think I got to a place, man, where like, fuck, dude, it's like, again, like you were saying, what's the fucking point, dude? Like, all my failures, all my accomplishments, like, let's make the argument I have 50 more years left in the tank. Like, that's not a thought that comes in my mind, It's like, dude, like, I don't know, bro, like, not to glorify depression or anything like that. I just, fuck, dude, I think again, it didn't get that bad overnight, so you're not even consciously aware of, like, when did that shit happen? When did it get so fucking bad that this is my life? I guess that way, like, gradually, and again, there's a lot of fucking pain that precedes fucking rock bottoms, and, I could, like, not be using, I could be clean and still think that, like, I'm unworthy or I'm fucked or what's the point of life, but, why did I keep going, man? Fuck, dude. I didn't want to die, I guess, like, there's, like, hope in all of us still, but, dude, the way I was going, man, I not to be too selfless on this one right now or anything at all, but, I definitely at times, you could say, like, lost the will to live, or dude, I wouldn't be where I'm at today without, like, dudes in my life, you know what I mean? And a lot of that, like, like, I didn't want to die. I mean, like, I didn't want to, like, kill myself ever, but I can, like, I can get, well, like some people do, and it's fucking, like, unfortunate, brother. So to be restored from that place or returned from that place, bro, like, that's nothing short of, like, other people in my life that gave a fuck enough to, give me time, the love, and the guidance, Little to do with me, a lot to do with we.
You're full of fucking recovery one-liners.
Yeah,
I
that's all
like
I
them.
got. It's my 3 songs and 2 dances, bro.
Um, all right. Where's this leave you now? So, I mean, I kind of know this, but expound upon it for our listener. So, you're looking at schools, you're looking at some other opportunities to be of service in some other ways. So, what's going on in your life right now?
Is this flex time?
Yeah, dude.
Okay, so check this out. 2020, I was strung out in Inglewood, California. And for the viewers who don't know, I'm like skinny little white kid, but from Riverside, but strung out in Inglewood, hurting badly. I can't wear short sleeve shirts because my arms are all fucked up. But I got clean, for a while. Struggled with sobriety for a bit. Found plant medicine about a little less than a year and a half ago, and my life has made uh, a dramatic shift. So I just applied to Columbia University in New York for a master's of social work program. I'm going to apply to USC as well, and my local school that I'm at right now at Cal State Fullerton. with high hopes of getting into all three. Um, I was recently asked to become support staff at a place called the Mission Within. They're a psychedelic treatment organization that specializes with what ibogaine and 5-MeO-DMT. They've been serving the veteran community for a couple decades. Specialize in head injuries and PTSD. One of my mentors in the field, Zach Skiles, is like you and your wife, just phenomenal human beings, knowledgeable. All they do is fucking help people, And he phoned me about a month ago, and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing? How are you doing?" And I expressed interest in, I've like kept in contact with him and shared little bits of my stories and my milestones and kind of what I was doing, and just asked him for direction. And he was a facilitator that told me, he's like, "Hey, you were having a really kinetic experience. This is what A, B, and C could be." And then, so he asked me to come on and work in that space down in Mexico. I was like, "What the fuck, dude?" So applying to grad school for an MSW program. I'm gonna have enough benefits left through the VA to pursue a DSW, like a doctorates in social work or whatever after that, or maybe like a second master's. Um, and then I sponsor people. I'm active in recovery. I don't know, man. I just made it through some family stuff. Like, I was speaking on it earlier. I still have a lot of that chaos going on behind the scenes that I used to just bury and throw in the closet. But I've been able to navigate it recently. I've been able to show up for my family and offer help in a constructive way and without getting consumed by it. So because of what is it? The war on the outside reflects the one within. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that family stuff hasn't changed, but my ability to show up for has. And even more than that, like my ability to not fucking take it in and keep it in, But yeah, man, I get to apply to grad school at an Ivy League school, and I like UCLA, so going to USC isn't kind of like a thing that I'm screaming at the top of a cliff about. But if I look at my story, dude, 5 years ago, dude, I didn't have a fucking phone. You know what I mean? And now I have, like, if I have one big blessing in my life, dude, it's the people that I have in it, David, including you and your wife. But God or the universe or goddess, man, he just put these just phenomenal human beings in my life, and some of them have prison records, dude, and some of them had stories just like mine, you know what I mean? But it's like they like showed me, and I live, I've like shared my life with these people, man. It's like I'm of service today, man. And it's like not just to say, oh, I help people, but dude, like, God enters through the wound kind of stuff, man. I get to share this recovery life with fucking beautiful people, and I have days for sure. You show up anyway, and these weird little odd or God moments start happening. You know what I mean? And then I would be foolish to try to like, I don't know, man. I'm in a position right now in my life where A, I thought was unattainable, but B, I'm fucking like, I don't know, like genuinely excited to live again, man. And I don't know, it's a trip.
You should be very proud of yourself, dude.
You.
No, I'm serious, man. Because I can appreciate on the one hand of like I don't give myself credit really for like anything positive in my life, right? It's like God put me on this path, made all these things happen, brought good people into your life, etc. But also it's worth acknowledging the fucking legitimate work that you have done, and it certainly hasn't been easy. So you should be
Yeah,
proud of
thank
it,
you a
man.
lot, brother.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Papa.
I take like 80% or so of the credit for your success, but the other 20%, bro, that was you.
Hashtag duh.
um, Bro, have I told you that me and Cordy want to poach you from Mission Within at some point in the future? I don't know
Yeah.
if yeah. So like we only promote from within, so to speak. Of like we don't have any like paid staff yet of like coaches and stuff, but that's something that we're looking at doing. And so, like James, I don't know how much you know him, but he's doing a facilitator training right now, and like he would be one of the first people that we hire to be like one of our coaches, and like you sure as shit would be on that roster as well. Granted, we're barely at a point where I get paid for this work, so we're not hiring anybody quite yet. but but yeah, man, 100%. Like you're someone that we would do that with as well. Absolutely.
Dude, you know what's cool? Paid or not, dude, and I mean this, dude, like the sheer fact I hadn't even thought of in that capacity is like the fucking reward. And but
100%,
yeah, so
man.
you know, like what I was told it'd be like a Monday gig. So there's 6 other days left.
There you go. Um, Bro, is there anything else we haven't hit on that you think is pertinent to the discussion of the medicine saving your life, basically?
No, bro, I think we hit a lot of it, bro. It's like I don't, it's like I checked some boxes, right? Got the childhood stuff, got the Iraq stuff, got the divorce stuff, got the drug stuff, But
Dude,
again, dude, I
I
think
saw a podcast clip the other day. I'm sorry for cutting you off.
no,
You'll
you're good,
appreciate
brother.
this. It was like a Navy SEAL on another podcast. And he was talking about his life, and um, I don't know the full story, but he was like somewhere in California, like trespassing on someone's property, and the dude shot him. And he was talking about it, and he was like, dude, between going through a divorce and getting shot again, I would choose getting shot again, like every day of the week. He was like, the
Fair,
divorce was way worse than getting fucking shot in the stomach. And it
dude,
made me think of you, like the divorce being way worse than Iraq.
and I mean that, bro. Fucking
I
A.
know.
Yeah, he said it, and that's coming from a seal. But yeah, dude, I think
Yeah.
it's, dude, I don't think it. If anybody's listening to this podcast, they're probably interested or if not versed in the medicine as well. And then I don't know, man. It's like again, like it's a trip, dude. Like recovery, dude, is fucking probably like the biggest part of my life right now by far. And then it's medicine has, it's a tool, right? The medicine is a tool, and it's like if I do something with that, it's on me, and we don't heal individually, it's community is probably the most important thing in my life as well. But I don't know, man. I think we hit all the boxes, or we checked all the boxes, talked about everything I wanted to talk about. But um, yeah, I just love this space, if you want to call it that or whatever. Just more like the people that you meet along the way. Like that's the trippiest thing. Like I didn't, what are we like, New Year, right? Like I met you last year around this time, maybe like give or take a little bit. And
Yep.
fuck, man, what a year, bro! Like I don't know. I don't wake up jazzed for life 24/7. You know what I mean? But I'll get there. But it's kind of a trip when you think about it, man. Like like again, like God or the universe or whatever, man. There was certain people in your life at certain times for certain reasons. I'd just be a fool to try to explain why. But definitely glad and grateful to be here, bro.
Yep. All right, man. I think that concludes our official podcast portion. And then, if you're game for it, I want to rapid fire tee up some questions that, full transparency, are just going to get clipped for some fucking testimonials for our program. You cool
Oh,
with that?
bring it on, bro. I wear my cool
All
shirt
right.
just for this.
I may or may not. Yeah. What is on your shirt, by the way? It's kind of like grainy on my side, so I can't make
I
it out.
I think it's from Apocalypse Now. It's
Okay.
how much of dudes in Vietnam carrying a surfboard coming out of the helicopter.
Gangster. Gangster. Also, you followed us March 10th of, I guess this year. And then you messaged us interested April 22nd. I just pulled up our conversation so I could look at it.
Okay. Oh, so that might have been right after my second retreat with No Fallen Heroes.
That's sick. All right. Speaking of that, there are individuals out there who would say that the entire like integration coaching kind of a thing like is unnecessary because that idea of like you can lead a horse to water but you can't make it drink kind of a thing. So the idea exists that like, hey, the medicine's going to show somebody what it's going to show them, and then it's up to them to put in the work afterwards. And like, I don't disagree with that, but I also don't think it's a stretch to say that like the 6 months of support that you got after that retreat made a big difference in continuing to implement those lessons. So, what do you think about that? Like, if you didn't get that support post retreat, if you were just kind of on your own, how do you think that trajectory might have been different than like being inside of this container after that?
Oh, I guess your brother. Um, Good question. I I don't know. I think like when you were asking that question, I have a friend who's a ranger. He called me this morning at like 1:30 in the morning. He just flew out from Texas. He was supposed to go to rehab, but they didn't pick him up. He sat with ibogaine and 5-MeO through vets, the organization, and he was kicking ass there for a few months. He moved twice, and now he's back in California to go to rehab one more time. I mean, I have a really good friend of mine who went down to do the. He was a Marine. He went and sat with ibogaine and 5-MeO DMT, and he just burned his life to the ground one more time. So he went to rehab yesterday, and this other guy called me this morning at like 1:30. I have the receipts, uh, but I use like those guys. If probably not worse. You know what I mean? And I don't. I don't know. I'm not saying that I wouldn't be sober or healthy. Still, I can't say that confidently. I would like to think I would though. But where I'm at now, dude, I've been chasing this type of recovery for a decade, bro. And plant medicine has been instrumental, but like having that, like the support, people knowledgeable in the field, having a place to show up to once a week, and then our Sunday things and the Friday things and the material, like, you got to give credit to where it's due, man. Like, as I say this, I'm 36 years old and this is the best I've done my entire life. And remember, I had a fucking gnarly past with drugs, combat, trauma, and all that stuff. But there's just something like any of like the integration work. I've heard it from people that are much more versed in this field than I am. 5% of the healing comes from the medicine. The other 95% comes with what you do afterwards. And in a perfect world, I would know how to, like go to the gym a couple of times or eat a little bit better or this or that. But if I don't have the accountability for it, if I don't have the support part of it, which was afforded to me in this program, the encouragement, the stories of other people, like I think that my chances of success were drastically lower, if not, zero. Like we were saying, it's like nice to take credit where it's due. But man, I had 10, 20, 30 years of bullshit in my mind, you know, uh, or whatever, you know what I mean? So it takes a village, you know what I mean? To fucking teach an idiot, you know? But check it out. So the upside of the integration part is so fucking important though, right? Because it's like I was just gifted the macro dose, right? Or the spiritual dose, or like the heroic dose, whatever we call it, right? I was gifted this blank check, right? And ideally, I want to cash it. I want to read. I want to take care of myself. I want to do these things, but it's like, dude, like creatures of habit. My default is to revert back to, not doing those things. So to have it in a structured, like intelligent, habitual, like consistent way is like, at least for my own, I needed it, and I benefited immensely from. A little hand holding never hurt anybody.
Yeah, on the kind of hand holding front. So like, we don't have to rehash the topics that you and I worked through throughout the program. You touched on some of them last time. There's also some other like relationship things that like we've navigated throughout the course of the program. What would you say that like you gained from our one-on-ones and the check-in forums and just like the communication that you and I had throughout that? Because again, like I can't do any of that work for you, right? But I do think we processed a good amount of shit together. So talk to me about that a little bit.
You know a lot about me.
I do.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's some areas in my life, man. I could clean up 90% of it, right? I clean up 90% of my room, but if I keep that 10% of dirty clothes in the closet, my room's still gonna fucking smell, And I don't keep that 10% in there intentionally. I just fucking don't know what to do with it, man. And I think I have some areas in my life. Yeah, there were past relationship shit that had legal stuff intertwined on it, or that I worked with you for 6 months. No more actually. I'm sorry. Our program was 6 months. I've continued to see you, and you've helped me. I ended a relationship, with love, and which was, a hard situation. If it was, left to my own doing, I'd probably still be in it. you know what I mean? And she's a sweetheart of a woman, but it just wasn't conducive to me. And I don't think I would have been able to do that without you, you know. And then some of the other stuff that, you know, like my big bad deep dark secrets or whatever, you know. I've been in a position right now where I've learned. I ran away from a legal situation in my life for almost 10 years now. Oh no, 8 years I think. You know, and that's the thing, man. It's like I, I squeal at still, you know, or it's a thing that it's quite unfortunate and like in my life, you know, and with you, you know the ins and outs of it. And we spent several hours, and I think I have a sponsor in recovery who knows a lot too, and I have men in my life who know a lot. But uh, I think you and I, as far as identifying how I really feel about it, coming up with a game plan forward, you're probably like, no, you are the person who knows more about that than anything. And I'm in a position right now in my life where I'm proceeding forward to clear out that wreckage of my past. You know, and
Mm,
and I could say it with certainty too. I wouldn't have been there without that program.
fuck
And
yeah.
then again, that's the thing I ran from for the better part of a decade, and I used dope over for a really 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 long time.
Dude, there are people who think 6 months is too long. We've been told that. They're like, I don't know why someone would need 6 months of support after this. What do you think about that?
Well, it's affordable. At least I thought it was, you know.
For other people who say it's too expensive too, man. Can't please everybody.
I know, I get it. Remember, I grew up in a trailer too, though, and a bus. So for me to say it's affordable, it's that's saying something, bro. But no, the payoff's so fucking big. I mean, it's like, dude, because we're dealing with fucking like mental health and addiction and combat and fucking, long-term depression. You have like mothers who want to be better moms. You know, you have people that are, searching for like this profound inner work. And I don't know, dude. I fucking like when I first met you, I had six, self-help or like new thinker books on my like nightstand. You know what I mean? And I was able to read like three of those now. Probably could have read more, but one of them was really big. But I don't know, man. I was stuck in a certain way for 10 years at least, in like the unhealthy habits. I was conditioned for a few decades to think the way that I thought for a reason. So I'm not knocking on the people who said 6 months is too long. I can only speak from my own story, man. I was like combat meritoriously promoted. I was good as fuck at sports, man. I was like a super popular dude growing up. And none of that's ego. It's just like, dude, I have like, I had, I excelled in certain areas, like above average in a few. And, but, I still ended up where I ended up, and recovery, healing, it's not a one size fits all for anybody. And unfortunately, I think that, I work in the treatment field or the mental health field. They don't take that approach a lot of times, and what works for you on one day or what works for you might not work for me. And what works for me one day might not work the next day. Was 6 months too long? No, I'm still in the program, and it's been longer than 6 months, but for the actual program itself, the 6 month part, um, I didn't do a 3 month program, but I remember how I felt at 3 months compared to the 6 months. And I like how you guys, introduction, medicine, break, medicine again. At least for my own healing, brother, it's been instrumental. And I think it was the perfect amount of time. I'm like grateful that the option existed to stay on in some capacity after the fact, because I benefit from it. I have the community, the continuity of care, the connection part of it as well. So it's not like I'm just starting to go see another therapist just because we finished up. It's like the continuity of care. And if you were to ask any medical professional, what is one of the most like fundamental things that need to exist, especially in the mental health field, for continued sustained growth and or change, like that lasts, it would be the continuity of care and relationship between client and provider. And I've
Mm,
like been able to to achieve both.
hell yeah. Um, all right, kind of last thing, and it's not even specific with like our program and your experience here, but even more so your experience of working with other dudes in recovery. I said before how like you can know what somebody's future holds, but like they have to kind of figure it out for themselves, right? So I'm sure you've seen all kinds of dudes who like are on the precipice of actually getting help, but like they're not quite there. Like maybe they show up to the meetings, but they're not fully bought in yet. And it's almost like maybe you even know, like, dude, you're going to relapse again. And then next time, like, it'll actually work. I don't know if like you can see that, but what I'm getting at is like we meet a lot of people, man, who kind of know that they need something, or they've been doing the regular VA therapy for a decade, or they've been on the fucking SSRIs, and like they kind of know that something else has to change, but like they're just not quite ready to like dive in, and they come up with some bullshit excuse of like maybe it's too expensive or the timing's not right or whatever it is. It's always bullshit.
I get you.
And I I don't actually think that there's anything to say that would push someone like that over the line. I think like maybe they just have to actually sit with their suffering a little bit longer until they're ready. But what do you think about that? Is there anything that can be done to like convince someone to take the leap, or like you just got to kind of wait until life makes them ready? How do you
Uh,
think about that?
Dude, that's fucking. You just kind of said it. I think, bro. Like, fuck, dude. Like we said earlier, you just want to shake the fuck out of them, but that has to come from within, and unfortunately, dude, pain is a great motivator,
Yeah.
and it's like, again, this isn't the first door that I knocked on, bro, but I'm fucking so fucking happy I finally did, man. You know, I, you can make the argument that I would be sober, right? But would I be like, would I've experienced like real recovery, which I would call real recovery without the medicine, and it's a no. I wouldn't like like you said, take credit to where it's due. For sure, man. I show up and I do the things, but I was able to hit those things in therapy that they actually talk about, and it's like I don't know, like if someone's in the same field that or has the same story that I did, went to the VA for 10 years, been seeing a therapist for 5 years, I've been on all these medications that don't work, dude, there's a level of hope that exits the equation, and you just slowly start to see the world in a certain way, and you think that's just the way that it is. Dude, fuck that, bro. My own story, at least, and I can only speak for me. Again, I was a good enough guy, excelled in all these fucking areas. I taught PTSD classes. I've been to thousands of fucking meetings, hours of groups, individuals, Zooms, service work, volunteer work, school, working out, all the things. I did all the things, like I shared on this podcast. Some of them, like I was doing these things even before the medicine. I had to, and they definitely fucking helped. I love therapy. I love recovery. It's a really, really, really big part of my life. But without the medicine, dude, I don't think I would have been able to build momentum, feel real tangible results and continue them. So, doubt exists in everybody's mind. I don't have to doubt that this shit works. I know it, and I guess, I'm not here to sell anything, but I'm here to give like my testimony. I wouldn't be where I'm at without you guys. There's so what would I tell somebody who's thinking about this? Dude, it takes work, man, but it also takes work to stay stuck, and the most frustrating part about that, nobody wants to stay stuck or unhealed, you know, um, and in this program, I've talked about my combat stuff. I've talked about my kids stuff. I talked about my divorce stuff. I talked about my using stuff, but I've talked about all of it as a whole, not just these little fragmented pieces. And what's cool about this is more coaching and not just therapy. There is that aspect of it as well, but dude, self-knowledge avails us nothing. Okay, I know A, B, and C, these parts of my story. What the fuck are you going to do about it? And that's a question for everybody to answer themselves. And if you want help pulling the trigger, it's here.
Boom, boom, boom. Good shit. Bro, thank you for coming on here, Billy. I really
I
appreciate it,
got your
man.
back,
Thank
brother.
you
Thank you
for
for having me,
humoring
buddy.
me with my testimonials at the end there. I appreciate that very much. Um, all right, good shit. Any final thoughts, parting wisdom? You want to leave it there?
I'll leave it there, brother.
Cool. Love you, brother.
Love you, brother.
All All right, everybody. That's it for this one with my boy Billy. Hopefully you learned something here. Hopefully you had a good laugh, and hopefully you got inspired just a little bit. So if you are interested in this kind of work, if you want to do the same kinds of things that Billy has done, you can do literally the same thing that he did, which was get connected with us on Instagram and just send us a message asking about our programs or our retreats. I'll go back and forth with you a little bit, get some info on you just to make sure that you're the right type of person for us to even work with, and then we can connect and go over all the details. So until next time, thank you again for listening. Peace out. Hare Krishna.